Hello, this is Panzeline from POCGamer, and today is going to be a combination of days 10 and 11 of the 30-day Dungeons & Dragons challenge. I'd like to apologize right now for not having a video up yesterday. I was having some technological issues down in Victoria, and what came out was nothing that I would want other people to see, even based on, those that first few days of the challenge where I was having microphone issues and it resulted in a super quiet recording. So it was bad. I didn't want to post it up, so you guys are getting a combination of 2 days now that I'm back up here. So I last left off, day 9 was my favorite character that I hadn't played. Now day 10, which was yesterday, was the craziest thing that's happened that I saw to a party, character, your players, etc. Craziest thing I've seen happen. The craziest thing I've seen happen, it happened between two friends of mine. They'd been playing a long-term Dungeons & Dragons game that I had the privilege of dropping into at several occasions. At the time this game was happening, I was actually on contract out in Wainwright doing full-time army work. So basically, when I go home on leave, I would drop into these guys' game, and when I had long leave blocks, I'd play for a few weeks in a row, sort of thing. Nerding it up on leave, because why not? And so what happened was that things had come to sort of a head in the party, and I was actually sitting in as the DM that day, and the situation was that one player's paladin was done with another character's thief. Thief slash wizard, I think it was. Anyways, they had an imp familiar. They had a weapon that was +1, +3 versus humans. It was a situation where the evil was no longer in question, and it was battle time. And for some bizarro reason, the character playing the halfling fighter wizard, I'm pretty sure that was class combination, thought they could take on a dedicated paladin who had a few prestige classes in paladin related stuff. This is 3.5 we're talking about here. And the fight ended in round 1. The amount of power and feats that he had, he took a bad hit right off the hop. The halfling successfully stabbed him, and it hurt. And then he chopped the halfling into bits. And then I summoned an avatar of a dark god, and things really went off the rails after that. But it was that moment, that moment of belief where, Buddy thought that his halfling had a shot at the title. And I was like, this is not going to work out. But this is what would logically happen, so let's do this. Let's see where this goes. So that's the craziest thing I saw. It's not very crazy, on the grand scale of things, but I thought it was pretty crazy. And the day 11 question is, let's see here, the favorite adventure that I've run. Okay, so this is going to be another Wainwright story here. Wainwright, Alberta. I was there for several years, working as a Class B reservist, and up here in Canada for my non-Canadian listeners, for my non-Canadian military listeners, which is probably, I'm going to guess, most of you, if anybody actually watches this. Class B is when a reservist, which is what I am, goes on to a full-time contract without being deployed overseas or something like that. So I was in Wainwright for several years doing these sorts of contracts, and several of the people that I worked with played Dungeons & Dragons. And so I played some Dungeons & Dragons with them, and then I said, hey, look guys, I've made up this world. I got this homebrew campaign, homebrew world. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. And at the end of it, I called it the Warm Seas campaign, and I knew things were going to go in an interesting direction right around when the players decided that instead of spending their money on booze, trinkets, and, you know, sexual favors, that sort of stuff. You know, the traditional, the traditional things that adventurers, you know, spend their money on at low levels, you know. No, they instead decided they wanted to invest their money in a ship. And then the rest of the adventure was basically them, like, forging their own trade empire. They ended up, like, going out into, like, this huge island chain, and they married into the local, like, aristocracy, and, like, it was this weird, like, East India Company meets Dungeons and Dragons meets, like, fantasy in a tropical island setting meets a war, because they ended up, they went to war against the, like, the nation that they were from claimed the islands that they had married into the aristocracies of as their own, and they said, no, we don't think that's how this works. We're going to fight you guys. And so they led their forces against that nation's forces, and, like, we had to break out all kinds of crazy books to actually, like, run the battles they were doing, because it went from, like, regular D&D, like, standard set battles, you know, squad level fight versus enemy squad sort of thing, to, like, multiple ships of the line, and, like, magic and flying ships and incendiary bombs, and it went off the rails fast. But it is the most memorable campaign that I've ever run. The characters were astounding. Their method of, like, successfully integrating themselves into the island cultures they encountered actually worked, because they didn't approach it from a colonialist standpoint. Like, they weren't trying to colonize them or do anything. They just didn't want to be attacked by them all the time, so they got on the good side of the nobles and then married into the families. And so, you know, they basically joined the local power structure and then supported it. And it's unexpected and very crazy, very interesting to watch go down, and yeah, entirely memorable. So I would say right there is that is the most memorable campaign that I have ever run. So I think that about wraps it up for today. Answered 2 questions: craziest thing I've ever seen happen at a party, and the favorite adventure that I ran. Both pretty good answers, I hope. So thank you very much for watching. Please check out my blog, POCGamer.com. If you like this, awesome, give me a thumbs up, and you know, follow the channel. There's more to come. Expanding things are changing, developing, and have a good day.